First off, this was the design I was going for. So first things first, clear the whole patio off, then power wash it really good. After power washing, I cleaned mine with an industrial strength degreaser and cleaner. My patio wasn't even 2 years old and it wasn't really dirty or greasy, so this was enough for mine. However, if your patio is older, dirtier, greasier, I would definitely invest in getting a concrete etcher so that it really just takes everything off chemically. My patio, since it was so new, it didn't really have any repairs that needed to be made. But if yours is older, has cracks, has chunks taken out of it, I would definitely recommend patching all of those first before you do anything else. And once you're done cleaning or etching, just power wash the patio real quick again. Got this bonding primer that will help adhere any paint or stain to your concrete. It was very watery, not like paint at all, which was the whole purpose because this is made to seep into your concrete. I applied this the next day after I power washed my patio and made sure that my patio was dry. I applied one coat of this and I waited about 24 hours before I went on to the next step. So the next step is staining the concrete. I chose to go ahead and stain the concrete rather than paint it because the stain penetrates the concrete rather than lays on top so that, it can't really peel off basically. I got 2 gallons of this. Each gallon was stained in a different color. And then I also had this anti-skid product added while they were mixing the paint, which will prevent the patio of ever getting slippery when wet. I started staining the patio with a light color. I did 3 coats of that. And here's the pattern I was going for. I marked out the center of my patio, square template out of printer paper, and started the taping process. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit of a brain breaker starting this, but once I got the first 3 squares up, it became easier to put everything else up after that. After all the squares were taped down, it was time to clean up the tape where all the dark squares would be meeting. Some of the tape I had to slightly adjust for all the lines to exactly meet where they needed to be. Then it was time to tape the outer border. I used a yardstick as a spacer to tape everything exactly right. I then ran a damp rag over all the edges of the tape to activate the tape, and then I painted over all the edges of the tape of all the squares that were going to be dark. I did all that to prevent as much bleeding as I can while I go over the lighter stain with the darker stain. The next morning I used a cabinet foam roller to roll the first coat of the dark squares in all the spots that it needed to go. I slightly went over the tape very carefully not to press too hard to prevent more bleeding. On such a rough surface as concrete, it's almost impossible to prevent any type of bleeding, but I was trying to prevent it as much as I could. I ended up giving all the dark squares 3 coats of stain as well. Every coat I tried to go over all the edges of the tape as carefully as I could not to press too hard. Then it was finally time to take the tape off. And I'm very happy how this came out. There's definitely a little bit of bleeding here and there, but most of it has really crisp lines. And honestly, it came out better than I thought it would. It makes the patio look so cozy, and it's definitely a low-cost, high-reward type of project.